I faked amnesia. I forgot the husband who swore we were madly in love and the daughter he claimed I adored more than life itself. I ignored every plea and every sermon from the peanut gallery and filed for divorce. No custody, no visitation, nothing. The headlines called me ice-cold and heartless the moment I opened my eyes. I still let the tabloids howl while I drove Julian and the kid toward the exit sign that read "Walk away with nothing." Because the amnesia was staged. I remember everything. His love was counterfeit, the little girl was a prop. When I had the car crash. After 10 days in a coma, I finally blinked awake in the hospital. Fortune smiled. No broken bones, no internal bleeding, but my head had slammed into the side window. The result, selective, temporary memory loss. This is actually common, the doctor explained to the man in the tailored suit. A severe concussion can scramble recent memories. How long will it last? The stranger asked. Hard to say. We'll have to wait and see how she recovers. I watched the whole lecture with the detachment of a bored juror. The man informed me he was my husband, name Ellis. Relatives nodded like bobbleheads. Serena, you really don't remember Julian? You two are Instagram legends. #couple goals since college, never a single public spat. Girl, the second you flatlined he went full Romeo, camping here every night. I studied Ellis while he strode toward us, cologne first, apology second. Love of my life? Worried sick? Funny, his hair was salon perfect and the linen blazer looked fresh off a Riverdale rack. Not a trace of sleepless despair. I honestly don't recall, I said, giving him a polite smile. The Vance line runs through me alone, and Daddy made me swear I'd never marry out. So, you must be my live-in husband. Silence dropped like a guillotine. Ellis's pupils flashed venom, then he rearranged his mouth into something forgiving. Yes, Serena. We're soulmates. That's why I took your name. I beamed as though a light bulb had popped overhead. Oh, you're my trophy husband. Gasps circled the room, Ellis's cheeks went nuclear. Inside, I rolled my eyes. He's always hated the label, yet he loves the lifestyle it buys. I used to muffle the truth so he could save face. Give an inch, he annexes the empire. No more. I remember every frame. Only child of philanthropists who doted on me and my future corner office. Harvard MBA at 23, groomed to expand Vance. Marriage was a corporate venture, find a compliant man, move him into the mansion, keep the bloodline on the balance sheet. Daddy shortlisted Ella smart, docile, decorative, willing to alphabetize my calendar and swallow his pride. 3-year probation, passed with flying colors. The wedding announcement called it a merger of hearts, the board called it succession insurance. Before the crash I believed the performance too. I never loved him, but the reviews were 5-star. Then asphalt met skull, and the curtain lifted. Honey, I've wiped every memory of you. Does that wound you? I caught the relief that flickered across his face before he faked heartbreak. Doctors say it's temporary, a cousin chirped. One morning you'll wake up and boom back to honeymoon phase. Maybe even hotter the second time around, someone else laughed. I watched perspiration bead on Ellis's forehead and smiled wider. Sounds romantic. Shame, really my leading man prefers the amnesia arc to the original script. Too bad it's pure fiction, because I never forgot a thing. 2-inch Emery, we're almost home, Ellis said, guiding the Bentley into afternoon traffic. He risked a glance my way, voice velvet. I haven't told your parents about the accident. They're yachting off Sicily, I didn't want to ruin their cruise. He squeezed my fingers at the red light. You're not mad, are you? I stared at his manicured hand resting on mine. Beauty buys second chances, I'd granted him plenty. Each one nibbled at my equity until the bite marks showed. Of course not. You're so thoughtful. I flashed gratitude like a credit card with no limit. No wonder I married you. He searched my face for sarcasm, found none, and accelerated. Outside, Riverdale's mansions blurred into a Monet of old money. Inside, I catalogued sins. 10 days comatose, a near fatality, and he embargoed the news. With my parents out of reach, he held medical proxy. If I'd slipped from coma to vegetative, he'd have decided whether to pull the plug. Convenient. Serena, thank heavens. Lewis barreled across the foyer the instant the front door opened, tears strip-mining her cheeks. Walsh followed, spine military straight, eyes suspiciously damp. Ellis told us you were stuck on a business trip, the housekeeper scolded between sniffs. Some kind of passport nightmare. We were frantic. Important or not, you could have sent a text, the majordomo added, voice trembling with reproach. I arched a brow. Funny. Ellis didn't mention my little fender bender? I pivoted toward him. Darling, you kept even them in the dark? Car accident? Lewis shrieked. She spun on Ellis, wooden spoon still in hand like a cudgel. You let us believe she was delayed by customs? Walsh's glare could have flash-frozen champagne. Discretion has limits, sir. The staff deserved the truth. Ellis retreated a step, palms open in surrender. I was afraid you'd panic and phone her parents. At their age, the shock could dash those calls weren't yours to censor, I cut in, voice silk over steel. Next time you play gatekeeper, remember the threshold you're guarding is mine. In this house, Serena has the final say. We'll decide what needs to be done. How it's done is none of your business, Walsh snapped, not bothering to hide his scorn. Let's hope, Mercer, there won't be a next time. Julian swallowed the irritation flashing in his eyes and nodded with an apologetic smile. Serena runs things here, of course. Ellis understands. Feeling the timing was about right, I stepped forward to smooth Julian's ruffled feathers. Julian loves me most, so of course he's looking out for me, isn't that right, honey? I brushed my fingers along Ellis's cuff. Ellis gave a gentle nod. Yes. Out of the corner of my eye I spotted Dawn, who had just finished setting dinner in the dining room. I arched a brow in greeting. Dawn, Julian says he loves me most. What do you think? Dawn had cooked for us for years, timid, bashful, never one to chatter. We used to think she was honest and dependable. Now. Standing in the doorway, she produced an awkward smile. Why yes, of course. I held her gaze until Ellis's breathing quickened beside me. Only then did I smile and invite everyone to sit. What are they so jittery about? By now I already knew, Ellis and this tramp's daughter had been carrying on for ages. Dawn had worked at the Vance estate for years, and whenever I was away she maneuvered her daughter into Ellis's orbit. Looking at her cringing, timid manner, I had to admit the loudest bites come from the dogs that never bark. I single-handedly hold up the entire Vance group. From the day I entered college I haven't had a spare second. Back then Ellis was genuinely attentive, accompanying me to the library at dawn and dusk, silently escorting me to and from the company, never disturbing my grind. He quietly prepared 3 meals a day. When I fell ill he looked after me meticulously. His grades were solid, his looks even better. There was plenty of malicious gossip swirling, but he never seemed to care. I saw it all. Though I felt no romantic passion for him, I was thoroughly satisfied. And I never shortchanged him. His family was poor, so I bought them a house in the city and funded his little sister's study abroad. In public and in private I gave him stature, hoisting him into an echelon he could never have reached alone, something he could only dream of in a lifetime. Though he was a live-in husband, every Vance treated him courteously. That he could betray me this thoroughly was beyond my imagination. Apart from an emotionally cool nature, I've no flaws, our conjugal life was perfectly harmonious. I never thought he would dare sneak a bite right under my nose. Before the car crash I had already sensed him slipping. On the day of the accident I received the dossier on his mistress Dawn's daughter, Sam. I remembered the girl, ambition shimmering in her eyes since childhood. When she first followed her mother into the Vance estate she could barely mask her envy of me. Her grades were good, she wanted to study abroad, and Dawn came begging for my help. In the end, my charity had sponsored a thief. Auntie Dawn, I suppose Sam must have graduated abroad by now? I tossed out casually. Yes. Where's she working these days? Beads of sweat dotted Dawn's forehead. She stammered, Jay, just here in the city. Really? I beamed. You should have said something, invite her over for dinner sometime. It's been ages. I sliced into the juicy, pink steak on my plate and sneered inwardly. I'd love to see whether Sam dares face me. If Vance R&D hadn't rolled out the new smart home surveillance suite prompting me to have the tech team install a trial system in the house, I'd never have glimpsed that riveting performance. In my lovingly tended garden, my darling husband Ellis embraced that bitch Sam, while my baby girl whom I'd adored since infancy toddled into their arms. Through the monitor I heard her sweet, piping voice, Daddy. Mommy. I still remember collapsing when I first watched that footage. My husband had become someone else's lover, my daughter someone else's child. And they enacted their cozy family drama right inside my home. The night I obtained the video, I met with a suspicious car crash. Ellis, take a wild guess, coincidence? I lifted my glass toward him with a smile. Honey, I just got out of the hospital, sparkling water for me. A toast to you. You worked so hard, watching over me all that time. Drink up. Eat more, drink more. Opportunities to enjoy such fine food will be scarce before long. I, Serena, have never been a woman who suffers losses. Headlines love to claim the woman in a gold-digging scam must be a pig. Pity I am the hawk that eats pork. I didn't see Sam first, I saw my darling little Casey. After several years of marriage, Ellis and I still had no children, not because I couldn't, but because Vance was shooting skyward and I had no bandwidth. We'd agreed that in a few years, once I'd stabilized the company, we'd make time to have one. The Vance line needed an heir, boy or girl, as long as the child came from my womb. Ellis agreed readily. Back then I was touched by his thoughtfulness. He truly adored kids. He donated to Riverdale, organized events, even dragged me along a few times. The children were adorable, and Vance gave generously every year in charity. A kind, compassionate husband seemed safer than a cold-blooded one. So when Ellis led a wobbly toddler to me, I didn't object. Emery, this little one's story is heartbreaking. Abandoned in the snow, they say. When you give birth, our child will inherit everything. Let's adopt a daughter as well. Don't worry, she'll take my surname. We'll chalk it up as a good deed. Ellis spoke earnestly. Adopting an orphan would polish Vance's public image. Besides, feeding one more child was nothing to me. What's more, the instant the toddler saw me she stammered, Mama, and my heart melted. I brought her home and named her Riley. Looking back, there was no fate about it. It was all staged. Sam and Ellis had been entangled long ago. Ellis cuckolded me, then brazenly moved his bastard into my house. And the kids cunning two apples don't fall far from scheming trees. At such a tender age she already lies like her parents. Wealth truly makes hearts race. Mommy, you're finally home. Juliet missed you so much. Riley's tiny body crashed into my arms, all giggles and sugar. I couldn't help remembering the clip in which she had sprinted into Sam's embrace, chirping the exact same line. Mommy, I haven't seen you in forever. Juliet missed you to pieces. I stroked her silky hair and marveled, such polished acting at 6. Definitely her scheming parents' daughter. I played with her for a while, then had a maid escort her upstairs for homework. The instant she vanished I uncurled my fist, inside lay the few strands I'd just plucked. Ellis, your darling daughter served these up herself. Who told you to send her to spy on me? Ellis must suspect Sam and he had been exposed, otherwise I wouldn't have suffered that bizarre car crash. On the day they'd hooked up, Lewis and Walsh had both been sent on phony errands, but Ellis hadn't known a surveillance tech was still rewiring the attic cameras. The technician told me Ellis's face had been sheet white when he grilled him about the footage. That night my brakes failed. Ellis had wanted me dead. Failing that, he'd hoped to keep me vegetating in a hospital bed. He hadn't expected me to open my eyes. Thank heaven I woke up with amnesia. Suspicion runs in Ellis's blood. When his own probe went nowhere, he drafted his daughter. Bellevue keeps the boarders until the final weekend of the month, so Riley wasn't due home. An amnesiac has to stay believable, and I'd been racking my brain for a pretext to summon her. Ellis, clearly, had run out of patience and delivered the child himself. "Daddy, I already tested her. Mom really has amnesia," Riley whispered into her phone from her room. "She even forgot I'm adopted and asked why my last name is Mercer." "Daddy, can we not tell her I'm adopted? Let's just pretend I'm your real kid." Listening through the door, I almost laughed aloud. The cub was greedier than the lion. I'd already couriered those hairs to the lab along with Ellis's sample. No matter how they lied, the ugly truth would surface within days. This marriage is ending. And every rotten penny that disgusting pair has swallowed, they're vomiting back. 5. The divorce announcement blindsided Ellis. Over an otherwise normal breakfast, I tossed my bombshell at the fake happy father and daughter. "Ellis, if you have nothing urgent, don't leave the house today." He blinked. "Why?" Although he was only the live-in husband, I had never before restricted his movements. "I know," Riley chirped, raising her little hand. "Mommy wants a date with Daddy." A flush crept up Ellis's neck. He looked at me, half-thrilled. "Emery, really?" I smiled at the two performers and shook my head. "Not quite. I'm divorcing your dad." Ellis's complexion drained. Riley gaped. The doorbell rang. I tipped my chin at the girl. "Go open it, your birth mother's here." The lawyer entered together with Sam. The woman had tried to bolt, but my people had nabbed her early and driven her to the Vance estate. Before Julian and I married, we'd signed a prenup, the real reason he'd never dared flaunt his affairs. The Vance fortune didn't share 1 cent with him. As long as he remained the resident trophy husband, he could enjoy the mansion and a generous allowance, period. Over the years, though, I'd openly and quietly funneled extra cash to his clan. Pity greed never knows gratitude. Seeing Sam, Ellis paled. "Emery, there must be a misunderstanding? I love you so much, how can you divorce me?" I watched his act with cold eyes. "Love me? While you slept with another woman and fathered a secret child? Your outside wife is here, why don't you take the kid and introduce them?" Riley, still a child, had never weathered real storms. Faced with a row of attorneys, she shrank behind Sam. I studied the cozy mother-daughter pair and almost laughed. How had I missed it? The girl's face was Sam's mini-replica. Like mother, like daughter touching, isn't it? I beckoned Dawn from the kitchen. 3 generations come, let's take a family photo. Guards pinned Ellis to the carpet, his face was chalk white. I lounged on the sofa and flicked a finger at the cheating pair. "Start talking, how did you two hook up?" The coward couldn't even look at Sam. Kneeling, trembling, he pled undying love to me. "Emery, that which seduced me. I'm innocent. You're the one I adore, remember? All these years I never hurt you." I smiled and slapped him hard. "Ellis, you honestly think I'm amnesiac?" His head jerked, horror flared in his eyes. "The night I uncovered your sleazy affair, I crashed. You really take me for an idiot? You smashed my phone, erased the video, so you think I'm empty-handed? I've handed every thread of evidence to the police. Serena, run Vance, do I look like a helpless fool? The moment I found that footage, I forwarded it to my trusted chief of staff. The only thing I miscalculated was how far you'd go. You actually tried to kill me." I slapped him again, his cheek ballooned. "I've given you plenty. Your entire parasitic family climbed the Vance ladder mansions, Ivy's tuition abroad, and you repay me by cheating, setting me up, and making me raise your spawn? When you realized you were exposed, you wanted me dead? That enrages me most. I can picture my parents' agony had I never woken. They would never let it rest, true, but the wound would have been permanent. The slaps were for me and for them." 6. Lewis, finally grasping the truth, shrieked and lunged at Dawn. "You old viper, conspiring with outsiders against our miss. Where's your conscience? Miss paid for your daughter's schooling." Walsh was trembling with rage, and Riley, cowering to one side, burst into loud wails. "Mommy, don't hit Daddy. I spun around, a half-smile curling my lips as I stared down the girl. Who are you calling mommy? Your real one standing right behind you. You were all happy, calling Sky mommy, so why the sudden amnesia about who I am? Sam hugged the child, sobbing as she begged me. Vance, it's all my fault, don't blame the child. I looked at her coldly. Of course it's your fault, Sam. Back when you couldn't afford tuition, I paid your way through grad school overseas. Imagine my surprise when your first accomplishment upon returning was to seduce my husband. A textbook ungrateful wolf. No, he came after me, he said you two were loveless, that he was lonely. You liar. You threw yourself at me the minute you walked in with your mother, making eyes nonstop. Watching Ellis and Sam snap at each other like rabid dogs, neither willing to own up, I signaled the bodyguard beside me to capture every second on his phone. Dawn clutched her chest, ready to stage a fainting spell. This old White Lotus wanted a pity performance? I flicked my fingers and the family physician stepped forward. Aunt Dawn, don't worry, I'll keep you in perfect health. You'll stay conscious long enough to witness your family's complete downfall. Emery, I love you. Those weeks in the hospital, I did everything made the doctors fight for you, never left your side. Ellis crawled over on his knees and grabbed my leg. I never once gave up on saving you. Devoted husband, huh? I thought of how immaculate he'd looked the morning I woke up, and a cold laugh slipped out. Truth is, you couldn't have pulled the plug even if you wanted to. Ellis, even if I'd stayed comatose, you still wouldn't have controlled my treatment. I, Serena, have always kept a clear head, I'd never hand my life to a man I don't love. Long before the wedding I'd signed airtight legal papers. If I ever lost consciousness, every medical decision would rest with the Vance family's private medical board. All consultations would proceed under the supervision of Vance Legal. My spouse had zero say. From the very beginning, I had not trusted Ellis. You never treated me like a real husband. You were ice cold in bed and refused to have kids. Why should I stay faithful? Now that every card was on the table, Ellis didn't bother pretending. When you married into the Vance family, the contract spelled out your obligations word for word. If you can't accept them, sign the divorce papers right now. Over there you'll find plenty of women willing to warm your bed and bear your children. I leaned in until my lips brushed his ear and spoke so only he could hear. Don't dream of dragging this out. What I'm holding could destroy you in ways you can't even imagine. In the end, Ellis gave up and signed. Walsh chased Sam and Dawn out wielding a feather duster. Lewis stood akimbo, cursing nonstop while ordering staff to toss Ellis's and Riley's belongings onto the curb. To pass your own daughter off as an orphan and sneak her into the Vance estate, shameless plot. Listening to Lewis's righteous tirade, I remembered one last piece of news I hadn't shared with Ellis. The paternity test envelope was already open. Riley was not his biological child. Most likely Sam slept around, wound up pregnant, and duped him into fatherhood. Congratulations on fathering a cuckoo. Imagining his face when the truth exploded filled me with sunny vindication. Once the divorce certificate was stamped, I'd have someone deliver the report to the Mercer family. Old money clans prize their reputations. Even when the stink is unbearable, they prefer to keep it in a locked room. This time, I intended to open every window and let the reek flood the street. First, I published the signed divorce agreement on the Vance website and tipped off a dozen media outlets. Within hours, headlines screamed across Riverdale, Vance husband Ellis cheating with cook's daughter, smuggled love child into mansion disguised as orphan. Coupled with my recent car crash, rumors of attempted murder raced through timelines and gossip blogs. Ellis tried to flip the narrative, but every lie was strangled by the videos in my cloud. Screenshots flew. That homewrecker was on Vance's scholarship, can you believe it? Disgusting family. And the kid played both sides, calling Serena mommy while cuddling her real mom. Cook's mom crying for sympathy? Whole clan of drama queens. Thank God Serena survived, or those cockroaches would own Vance by now. Reading the swelling tide of outrage, I curved my lips in satisfaction. Emery, you and Julian were husband and wife once. Isn't this a little excessive? Ellis's parents wailed that I was heartless. I regarded them with amusement. While we were together, your son received a very generous monthly allowance. I've never stinted on those around me, no one can fault my generosity. As for reputation, he earned every whisper. If it weren't for the ongoing police inquiry, I'd have exposed his contract hit scheme too. Still, murmurs that the crash wasn't an accident were already rippling through the comments. He stayed with you all these years. Divorce him if you must, but pay up. The true colors of my former in-laws finally blazed through. Half of the marital assets belonged to him by law. Looking at their greedy faces, I almost pitied them. Marital assets? What marital assets? We signed a prenup so watertight it could float a battleship. Yes, I run Vance, but every share sits in my parents' names. I'm technically just a salaried CEO. Sorry, Grandma. My paycheck is $10,000 a month. Those fat transfers I wired your son? I had to ask my father for pocket money. You've reminded me I should consult counsel about clawing that cash back. Oh, and the mansion you're living in? Purchased after the wedding, so half is legally mine. Let me know which day you'd like to schedule the valuation. The two gaped like goldfish out of water. You're talking nonsense. I smiled sweetly. Feel free to run your own title search. I, Serena, never enter a battle unarmed. I'm the only child, Vance is mine in all but paperwork, and inside those boardrooms no one dares cross me. I designed that safety net before the wedding not to guard against Ellis specifically, but against any man who might try to hijack my life. The original plan had been to wait until the baby was born, confirm the man could be trusted, then gradually transfer the shares. A pity Ellis had failed the test of time. Go home and start scraping funds together. Ellis almost got me killed, and you still expect to live in the house I bought, blowing my money while you party? You vicious shrew. You can't give him a child, why can't my son have one with someone else? My former mother-in-law sprang up, ready to slap me. Before I could move, Dylan, who'd been sitting silently, stood. Enough. Mom, Dad, aren't you ashamed? I studied Dylan, who'd said nothing since walking in. Ellis's little sister was turning out to be full of surprises. Serena, my brother wronged you. My whole family owes you an apology. Dylan's face was scarlet, eyes glassy with tears. You're right, every cent should be reckoned. What are you saying, you ungrateful brat? The woman grabbed Dylan's hair, shrieking good for nothing with every twist. Your brother did nothing wrong. She's barren, she deserves it. Dylan finally shoved her away. Mom, stop making a scene. Wrong is wrong. She wiped her eyes. I've lost the right to call you sister-in-law. Vance, when no one would pay for my education, you sent me abroad. I never forgot. She pulled out a pen and scribbled an IOU. I know this is pocket change to you, but I have to repay it. I thought, as your sister-in-law, I could do it slowly. But since I'm no longer family, I'll settle it now. She offered the note with both hands and bowed. I'll find the money. And if there's a court fight over assets, I'll testify for you. Ignoring her parents' curses, Dylan dragged them out of the cafe. I picked up the IOU and watched the girl still being scolded outside. Warmth blossomed in my chest. Among that whole thorny Mercer clan, one honest shoot had somehow sprouted. The day the divorce certificate landed, the Vance homepage ran Cash App giveaways for a week. Police wrapped their investigation. Ellis had hired thugs to hurt me crystal clear. When the report dropped, public opinion detonated. Trolls who'd branded me heartless suddenly zipped their lips. My parents, stationed overseas, flew home the moment they heard. Child, how could you keep something this huge from us? Mom patted my hand, crying, while Dad stomped the living room, furious. I didn't lose a dime, why alarm you? I soothed them. Divorce went smoothly. Ellis is in custody for attempted murder. The legal team will claw back every asset. Out in the wild, some claimed I should have left Ellis a lifeline, called me ruthless, arrogant, even cold. I laughed. I want the world to know what happens to anyone who tries to play Serena. Spot the Vance heiress, set a gold-digging scam, hatch an inheritance hijack? Dream on. And that's Sam. I met her when she was a kid, never imagined she'd turn out like this, Mom fumed, while Louis chimed in with fresh curses. I hid a smile. I wouldn't dirty my hands on small fry like Sam, she's drowning without my help. The minute the decree was signed, I anonymously tipped off the Mercers that the granddaughter they doted on, Riley, wasn't Ellis's at all. Seeing red, Ellis's parents have stormed Sam's gate demanding money back. She'd milked them for years using Ellis's name. The orphanage, reputation shredded, is suing her too. Her company fired her once the story exploded. In this city she's a notorious meme. Dawn's even worse off without the Vance name on her resume. No elite household will hire a disgraced cook. Riley's been yanked from Bellevue. Without us, who's footing that six-figure tuition? I don't pick fights with children, but a kid who schemes for cash at 6 won't stomach plummeting from heaven to average. She'll suffer her own private purgatory. I once figured the Vance fortune could spare one extra mouth, now it can spare one less. I may never remarry, but when the time is right I'll have my own blood to carry the Vance legacy. As for Ellis, Sam, and Riley, their footnotes I skim with a smirk. Vance, the formal interview is over, but our live audience has a few personal questions. I'm midstream for a charity gala broadcast. The reporter flashes a friendly grin. We noticed the woman from your marriage scandal, Sam, was once your scholarship student, and your ex-husband's sister Dylan also received your support. Will that painful experience change your willingness to help struggling students? If you met someone in genuine need, would you still fund their education? I look straight into the lens and answer without hesitation. Yes. To whom much is given, much is required. A person and a corporation grow stronger by shouldering responsibility. In fact, Vance has run a foundation for decades. We never stopped giving. If an applicant checks out, we'll help. Bad apples won't sour us on the whole barrel. Applause erupts off camera. I finish with a sincere smile. Never let a few liars rob the ones who truly need us. The livestream rockets Vance stock upward the next morning. Shares spiked again after last night's gala. My team crows. Every executive around the table is beaming. Stay humble, this is only the starting gun. The road is long, bigger tests wait ahead. Strength and healing come only from within. For me, the best day is always tomorrow. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story, like and share. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more, and we'll see you next time.